talking about 21st century tarot cards, what they represent now in the 21st century, what they've represented in the past. But most importantly, we're going to be looking at how social media has reacted to the phenomenon known as tarot. So as usual, for those that don't know me, I like to get historical. So I'm going to take you back to a little bit of brief history, and then we're going to see how things really changed. So tarot, everybody loves it. Everybody wants to study it. Everybody wants to live it, right? But the meanings of the cards have changed exponentially. They really have. Really since the 1970s, tarot became this big fascination. Everybody wanted to do things with the deck, right? They were featured in horror movies. They were featured in science fiction. People were fascinated with them. So what we're going to look at first is we're going to look at a bit of history. I'm going to be explaining some of the older decks. And then we're going to go through how social media has really totally taken tarot to a whole new reading. Feel free to ask your questions. This is, of course, your time. You know, we are 100% live. I think we're broadcasting pretty much everywhere. So hopefully I won't mess up too badly or get people's names wrong, which has happened in the past. I once was speaking to a guy in Germany, and his name was so hard to pronounce. Eventually, he just said, "Call me Bob." So I gave in and called him Bob. I'm also going to be demonstrating a reading, right? But this is going to be a different type of reading. If you guys are interested, through the Illustration Weekend, we are doing a tarot reading. Contact Ed Hubbard for that. He'll be able to help you out. He's also monitoring chat here. So he'll be able to kind of give you how to get involved in that. The reading that I'm going to be doing is 3 cards, but it's not going to be usual reading. And we'll come to that when we look at modern tarot. So without further ado, let's go back in time. Let's look at really how the world exploded, or how tarot exploded across the world. So for this, I have to naturally take you all the way back to Gerald Gardner. Yeah, it's probably one of those figures I really like talking about. Said nobody ever. No, I love Gerald Gardner. I really do. Some of what he said was a little bit out there, but I mean, hey, this is Gardner we're talking about. So Gerald Gardner came up with he set the tone for the 1970s, right? So for those that don't know the whole backstory behind Gardner, there was this big issue with him claiming that he was forced into an initiation with witches where tarot cards were being used, right? And a lot of what he said was never actually accurately reported by the BBC. Well, there's reason for that. He later in his journals wrote that these witches in the New Forest used tarot, and this tarot was a fantastic thing. And oh my gosh, these cards came to life and there was something inside them. So I'm going to debunk that first off. First of all, for those new to the wonderful world of tarot, welcome. You are going on a lifelong journey, right? So when you're working with tarot, here's how it doesn't work. Your deck, like this deck, cannot be possessed. It cannot be charged with anything outside. What we ask when I teach tarot, when Ed teaches tarot, when we have courses here at Witch School, so definitely check that out. We do have a tarot course. What we teach is to bind yourself to the deck. Now, Gerald Gardner never did this. He made it very clear that when he was initiated, there was a tarot deck in front of him, and there was this spread. We'll look at this spread very shortly because it's the modern day 21st century. But he never actually said that he binded it or he bound himself with his deck. This is a warning sign for witches, because we're like, okay, dude, if you're going to bind yourself with a deck at least and go through an initiation, you've got to sleep with it for 3 nights first, or in direct moonlight. So here's how you correctly bind yourself to your deck. Sleep with it under your pillow for 3 nights. Charge it under the new moon. Here is a little bit of a debunk moment. So brace yourselves, my fellow quarantined witches. Your tarot deck can't be possessed. Gerald Gardner was fundamentally wrong when he said that this deck was, he claimed that the deck spoke to him, that it was alive with the, yeah, I read his accounts. I'm like, yeah, no. The thing that Gerald Gardner did was that he paved the path for tarot moving forwards, right? He really accidentally, when he was making all of these statements in the press, he's like, oh my gosh, tarot's going to be the next best thing. Oh my gosh, it's going to come alive and people are going to use magic through it. Well, I'm a realist. I'm also a witch. I'm now going to come to that point of the workshop where I'll tell you what you can't do with the tarot deck. You can't really use your deck to perform high magic. Your deck is there to guide you. It's there to do its best to help you overcome whatever obstacle you're in. So let's look at a bit of history. For this, I would take you guys all the way back to the medieval period, but I thought, yeah, no, that's not even close to the 21st century. So let's look at the 70s, right? The witch accords of the 1970s puts into effect what you could or couldn't do pretty strongly. But to be honest, I'm not even going to focus here on America. What I'm going to focus in on is really the global scene, because we are global citizens. We are here on Zoom, right? We are all together going through this quarantine issue. Yay for quarantine. We're all here. We're kind of like the 21st century world. So what happened in the 1970s was the list of do's and don'ts, right? You could use tarot. You could market from tarot. See, this is where things get ethical. Marketing. Here at Witch School, yeah, especially at Lustre or wherever we're doing readings, right, the ethics question comes in over and over and over again. But historically speaking, it was in the 1970s where people were reintroduced to something that's been around for a very long time. You know, we have the idea of the Vatican having the Saracen deck. That is not an urban legend. That is true. The Vatican does have the Saracen deck. Have I ever seen it? No, but I know that they have it because when doing research for tarot, I was able to get a lot of information about what they had and what they didn't have, but they do have one of the copies that they took from Spain, which makes sense because of the Moors. But anywho, let's look at the 1970s, right? The rip-roaring 70s. So the world was introduced to witchcraft. I mean, witchcraft was always there, but the world was introduced to the witchcraft accords, the magic accords, right? You had the rebirth or the reimagination and the strengthening of the Hamatic accords of the Golden Dawn. You had OTO, Ordo Templo Orientis. You had people now that were buying magical supplies. And the very first thing that they bought in the 1970s was, of course, tarot. Now, in the 1970s, if you were going to be trained, it was very hard to do because there are a lot of people out there that said, oh, I've got a tarot deck. And then they would give you a really bad reading. And then, of course, you have the nightmare of what happens with Houdini, the Barnum statements, the cold reading. Here at Witch School, we don't do that. We'll teach you about cold reading, yep, to warn you against it. But we will never give you a cold reading, right? Because we know the dangers of it. And it really is this idea of like, you can make somebody believe whatever you want them to believe using Barnum statements. We don't ever do that, and we will never do that here at the school. But in the 1970s, people made the money through this, moving into the 21st century. Right? People were marketing through people's fears. So the kind of fears that people had were in movies. The first one, The Exorcist. There's a deleted scene in The Exorcist where one of the priests is looking under Linda Blair's bed, who plays Reagan, pulls out the devil card. Now, the reason why they deleted this scene was there was an outcry from the real religious community. They're like, what the hell? Like, first of all, let me turn off my email for 2 seconds here. First of all, they were like, are you seriously going to bring in the devil card? And then they were doing research, and it all means transformation, addiction, and all of this. But the damage had been done. People now, from the 1970s onwards, they're like, oh my gosh, you got the devil card. You're about to become possessed. No, doesn't work like that. It's actually an urban legend. This urban legend came from the Exorcist movie, like many other urban legends, and basically people doing dumb stuff with Ouija boards. Don't do Ouija boards. Just look at them from a distance and then ignore them, which is what I do. I hate them. But anywho, so tarot earned this reputation. The second you had the devil card, the hanged man, all of these tropes, right? People were terrified. Word spread around the world that tarot was now evil. Well, I'm going to debunk a couple of this, right? Because you're all students and you have to learn this. And of course, you're going to have friends, family, you're going to have people telling you, oh my gosh, don't do this, don't do this. Oh my gosh, tarot's going to do that. Here's the truth. tarot, moving into now the later part, moving forwards to the 21st century, has got nothing to do with hauntings, has nothing to do with you becoming possessed, has got nothing to do with you dealing or making deals with lesser entities. That's something completely different. So let's look at a couple of the controversial cards, because we can, and we're students, right? We've got to face these things as a gang, right? Okay, the Tower card, before the 21st century. The Tower card was, or is, one of the misunderstood cards in the tarot world. First of all, there's countless teachers out there that will tell you the second you get the Tower, that means that's it. Everything's going to come crumbling down. Your life is going to end. And oh my gosh, let's just get all emo and all. No. The Tower card has always represented a warning that you build up these false pretenses. And then what happens is, boom, suddenly your world collapses. People see through it. And they see through whatever that false pretense is. I always teach people have this front stage persona and the backstage. The front stage is what the Tower card will warn you about. It will say, okay, person X, they've lived their life pretending, take a YouTube influencer. They live their life, they're branded, and they build up this reputation. And then suddenly there's a weird video of them, I don't know, doing a handstand, flipping pancakes or something completely out of character. And that all comes crashing down. This is what the Tower represents. Before the 1970s, this was the same. It was the idea of be careful when false pretenses, right? Be careful when building up a character, being something that you're not. And many people just see the Tower card now, thanks to horror films, thanks to social media, as this rack and ruin. They see it as one of the cards that's going to be the impending doom. No, it's a card that's going to tell you, stop building up the false pretenses. It's pretty much what it means. It also means that when you have the card, you build up this tower gets to a certain point, but after it crumbles, you build it again. But this time you're stronger. This time you know what you did that was so, dumb, right? This is what the Tower represents. And whenever I teach people, it's a card. The meanings behind the cards are very subjective, right? You have to look at the meanings, and then you take out of those meanings something that speaks to you, right? Let's look at another controversial card. The big red guy who lives down there. Actually, he's not even red because he doesn't exist. But then again, I did a live stream about urban legends on my main channel, Facebook. The devil is by far one of the most controversial cards I've ever seen. And it's not just him that's controversial. There's three that we're going to talk about. One, the devil. Okay, so the devil doesn't exist. It's a made-up construct. It's an allegory used to contain people in fear. Okay, brutal honesty. Those that know me know I'm an honest person, right? Secondly, the Pope. The Pope card is accepted in the tarot community for obvious reasons. But it was put there for a very specific reason because of the way the Catholics approached it. And it's also highly controversial because people have claimed that it doesn't, the meaning has changed so much that when people get the Pope reading, suddenly they think they're being mass converted into Catholicism. No, but it's closely related to the Emperor. It's just they couldn't call the Pope the Emperor because that would have sounded kind of wrong for obvious reasons. All right, let's look at death. I know, such a morbid topic for Saturday, but we're all in quarantine, right? So let's all be a big family here. Big hugs, big hugs, big hugs. Right, there we go. Death does not mean death. Okay, I hate to break it to you, right? The death card, well, let's just look at it from a historical perspective. Venice. Venice was home to some of the leading theologians when it came to the pagan broad view of death. What does it truly mean? In the allegory of death, it's all about a physical change. You die every single day the minute you go to sleep and wake up. Let's just look at it. Aging, the natural processes, right? You go to sleep, a part of you ages and moves on. Death is a continual thing. In the world of classical theology or borderline put down the pitchforks, hold the mob back. Necromancy, which is what it kind of involves. Death is to embrace the death card means that you aren't going to die. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about change. In the school of necromancy, which does use tarot, they believe very strongly that when the death card is given to you, it has two meanings. One, the normal death card, the normal facing death card before it's reversed. This means a change. This means that you are going to go through a process, whether it's losing a loved one, losing a job, buying something new. It's a physical change that you have to embrace. If you can't outrun it. The reverse form of death. This is not common. The reverse form of death is that you are resisting change. So be very careful. If you ever draw this card and it's reversed, it's the counter meanings to change. Change means that you're going to go forwards. Reverse change means that you're holding yourself back, right? Nerves, stress, worries. I'm sure many of you, if you've done your clergy degrees or if you're working on classes in the school, right, and you get to that point where you're like, do I really want to do that test? And you get all these nerves and you be careful because you hold yourself back. And this is what death really represents. One, change. Two, resisting change, right? Resisting the natural order of life. So the school in Venice, going back to, let's think, 13th century, the pagan depiction of death had nothing to do with the Christian perspective. The Christian perspective was the skeleton, the bones, and all of this. This didn't fly in pagan worlds. This didn't fly with the early necromancers. They said, no, death is not a skeleton because death has no form. Death is everything. Death encompasses the world. And this is where the statement, beware those who enter the realm of the dead. And this is where the statement was first created. So their perspective in the tarot card, instead of depicting death as this skeletal figure, which they had to do by the church laws, instead they depicted death as just a question. It was a card that basically didn't even look like death, right? Today we have death cards in the different decks, whatever you use. But if you're using the original Venetian deck, it would look completely different. And there was a reason for this, because death is nothing. Death is, you can't know it until you meet it, but you already live it. So it's kind of one of those weird necromantic questions. All right, next up, the lovers. So moving into the 21st century, we live in a wonderful world of internet dating, right? Now, the lovers card entered notoriety thanks to a James Bond film. What was it? Live and Let Die, which was set in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I love it. It's a great place, right? Live and Let Die it's in New Orleans, but they then go to an island in Jamaica. It's meant to be Jamaica. It was actually in Cuba, but hey, who's judging? But it's all about voodoo. And tarot is part of voodoo, but it's not. So here's where things get kind of technically weird, or as I like to say, bizarre. Whenever I teach tarot, people are like, oh my gosh, you can't teach tarot because it's voodoo. I'm like, yeah, okay. No. So yeah, I want to hear your questions. Have you used tarot? Feel free to ask questions, and then Ed will let me know and I'll answer them. So yeah, voodoo. Voodoo does not use tarot in the same way that we use tarot. We use witches, pagans, druids, whatever you guys are, right? No judgment here. We use tarot to divine, right? We take our decks, like this one, and we use our deck and we shuffle it and we ask questions out loud. Maybe we're working with a client, right? And we help that client overcome things. In voodoo, they don't use the deck in the same way. 21st century voodoo requires some decks to be used to ward things. So this is where things get weird. In voodoo, they use their decks to isolate and contain things, which builds up that negative connotation, right? Especially in the 21st century. People look at voodoo and it's like, oh my gosh, they're all drumming and oh my gosh, they're going to be... No, there's a reason for drumming and it's called invoking the spirits. But the decks, especially the lover card, comes into play. Oh boy, here we go. The lover card. Okay. The lovers represents a divine union between the goddess, the god, you, and your respective other half. It's not just that. It's also building a relationship communication, community. In the classical school of witchcraft, it was never used to say, oh my gosh, we're going to force somebody into loving us. But it works well on TV, it works well in film, right? You know, people get the lovers card and it's like, oh my gosh, we're going to force you into loving something. Doesn't work. You can't use a tarot card or even a reading to force somebody in to being in a relationship with you. It doesn't work. I mean, it's been tried and tested. No, it hasn't been tested, but it has been tried. Many people throughout the history of tarot have tried to do the dumbest things possible. Case in point. For those who don't know, I'm a paranormal investigator, also medium. I worked with, a couple of years ago, true story, worked with a client, and it involved a very young person. Because of their age, I can't give name, but they were very young. They were playing with a Ouija board, and they decided to borrow their parents' tarot deck, and they placed the tarot deck not near the Ouija board, but in proximity, and they couldn't understand why the same card was being drawn over and over again. And this had been going on for 6 months, and the card was the Lover's card. It turned out through the investigation that basically the father was cheating on multiple women, and the card was predicting what was going on. We had to end the investigation pretty quickly for legal reasons, because we found out through channeling that something was going on, which turned out to be true. This is why you should be very careful when using Ouija boards and tarot in the same place. Tarot will give you the suggestive answers. Ouija boards just will lead you astray, and they're also highly dangerous. So please don't use them near a tarot deck. Just kind of like pretend they hate each other. If you have a Ouija board, just like pretend it's over there, like literally pretend it's like that cousin you really hate, right? Or your uncle, or somebody that you really hate, and just like throw it somewhere far, far away, like in Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away. Actually, bad idea. Imagine Palpatine with a Ouija board. That would be even worse. Or Kylo Ren with a bad thoughts. Kylo Ren with a Ouija board. How bad would that be? I mean, seriously, Jedi-powered Ouija boards. Oh my gosh, that would be bad. All right. So the Lover's card is and can never be used to make somebody fall in love with you. It is impossible. I mean, we see it in film. And they always get it wrong. And when we look at 21st century, we have to look at social media. And we are going to look at social media in about 5 4 3. Okay, social media is annoying as hell. With tarot readings, everybody's now on social media. Biddy Tarot, she does a wonderful job. She teaches, but a lot of her readings are very accurate. So you have accurate teachers out there. But now comes the portion where I have to teach you guys about the negative side effects of just how bad or how good the world of tarot has become, or both good and bad at the same time. Okay, for this we're going to look at Thelema and Aleister Crowley's order, because we have to. Oh boy, this one's going to be fun. Aleister Crowley. Yay. Okay, so Aleister Crowley within the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is a downright scoundrel, two-faced lying thief. Okay. Shots fired across Aleister Crowley's bow, but he stole a tarot deck. You don't be stealing tarot decks from New York. Bad idea. But anywho, he created a huge fan base, and without him even knowing it, people practice their version of Crowley's tarot deck, which is really a bad idea, because it has nothing to do with the meanings that you guys will be learning in witchcraft, or here at the school, or anywhere in the world. It has reverse meanings. So in our tarot deck, like this one, oh, it gets heavy first thing in the morning. This one's got 78 cards, right? Crowley's deck has got his original 92 cards. He put in his own cards. There's even a card of him as Thoth, because it's Crowley, right? And then, of course, you have television portraying him as that dude from Supernatural, so everybody now thinks that Crowley's from television, which drives me absolutely nuts, because but anywho, the Crowley deck is all about pain, suffering, mental manipulation, and whenever you pick up the Thoth deck, it's never good, which is why whenever I teach tarot, and I do teach it, I teach people the Rider-Waite tarot deck is the most accessible. It just is, right? Because Rider-Waite, he worked in collaboration with Rider. the deck is a teaching tool. It's what it was designed to be used for. They never designed it to be used for real divination. It was to bring you into the world. Crowley's deck is like, oh my gosh, how many people can we manipulate into doing things? This is Crowley. And it's not that I'm not telling you don't use it. I'm just trying to give you guys the 21st century uses, right? The Thoth deck also gained notoriety in when was it? It's 2014. No, 15, 16. This is 2014. The Slender Man. Okay, so what was never told to the police or to the public, because it did cause an outcry in the pagan world. I'm sure everybody remembers the two kids, right, that did the stabbing blame Slender Man for it. I think everybody remembers that. So everybody should, because it was all over the news. What was never told was that the girls brought, when they were arrested, their home, when they were arrested, they had the death cards, the moon cards, and the devil card. So 3-card reading. They claimed, and it will come out in the court notes, that the tarot Slender Man picked the cards for them, and the cards told them to do the act, right? So the press spinned it as just the girls believed that it was Slender Man, but the damage had been done, right? So now people look at tarot, and especially young kids are like, oh my gosh, can we summon Slender Man through the tarot deck? Because of the way these kids behave. So because it's the 21st century, I mean, we have to look at it. Okay. So the girls believe that you take your deck, and this deck is able to summon something. Okay, no, it doesn't work. But when you're a young kid and you believe such things, then who knows? I just want to make sure that I'm just going to briefly turn on chat here just so I can answer to a few things. He talked about the Pope card just a minute ago, so I wonder what the Pope card is. It's the Emperor. Sorry, I'm replying very slowly to chat here. I do apologize. New to this format. I'm used to Facebook Live, right? So I'm new to this. It's I know I love what karma did to the Crowley house. It's karma, and I will not. There's issues with that home. From the paranormal side, it is Crowley, before he left the UK, for obvious reasons, he was pretty much hounded out of the UK by the Hermetic Order. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn now is not the same as the original order. The original order was it? Okay, it is the same, but it isn't. The original order was very, very, very reclusive. They would take in men and women between the ages of 13, and the oldest that I know of in the first school was 70 to start. The original school of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was not, it was Rosicrucian magic. Crowley took a lot of information. He didn't have access to the main library. Nowadays, the students, they have more access than they used to. But in the original school, he was able to, there was something with the home, whether he summoned something, whether he did a ritual wrong, but many people believe that home is just plain evil. There are investigators that won't even go near the ruins because they think that there's something evil there, right? So yeah, when the home burned down, many of us were kind of happy. Was it karma? Probably. But okay, so since we're on the Hermetic Order, I guess I have to explain how it works with tarot. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the original one, set the tone. They reintroduced tarot teaching on a standardized format, right? So you learn the basics every single day as the apprentice before the neophyte stage. So there's stages that you would go through. So like the very basic stage, you'd learn the deck, the lesser banishing, greater banishing, cortical. You'd learn the basics, right? And then as you progress, you learn more about the deck. After Aleister Crowley did what he did, the order was, there were issues with leadership. There were big issues, right? And then, of course, the order kind of changed. There were people complaining that they weren't learning. The end result is the order did change. Now they still use the same teaching system, but it's more open. And it's just kind of weird how the structure is. But I'd love your comment. Yes, it was pretty much karma. Let's just all be honest. It was also kind of hilarious. But anywho, we're back. So the 21st century, now everything's online. And because it's online, people are able to come up with their own kind of readings, right? And their own ideas of what a tarot deck truly means. So what does it mean? Well, the meanings have changed, right? So kids now think that that some cards are going to hold them back, other cards can curse you, other cards can like cause you harm. So I want to kind of focus in on a little bit about this. So please ask your questions. I'm really, I love answering questions. So just ask your questions and I'll answer them. All right, we apparently are recording. Ed, can you check the recording on there? Shows as paused. I think I'm either going weird or I'm just probably not looking at it properly. Sorry, this format's still new to me, so I apologize. Anywho, so where were we? Okay, Aleister Crowley. So Aleister Crowley set the tone. People came to tarot through the words of Crowley, believing that the tarot will bestow high magic on you. So the 1980s saw a rise. People bought tarot decks left, right, and center. There weren't really institutions such as Witch School that were teaching. There weren't really institutions that were telling people use common sense. And then something weird happened. We went back in time to the time of Houdini. Boy. Okay, so I should probably tell you guys about P.T. Barnum. Let's just do this. P.T. Barnum was, okay, I'm going to be nice here. I'm going to be really nice. He was a master showman. As a showman, you need to make money. The only way you can make money is if you can't demonstrate it, fake it. That was where the idea came from. So he created Barnum statements. From him, he created the cold reading. Then Houdini came in, busted everybody, got himself ousted from the magician's castle and pretty much everywhere else because he revealed the trick. It's not really a trick, but okay. But then in the 1980s, it happened again. People were buying into this system, right? So right the way through the 1980s. In the 1980s, I was in Germany. Open disclosure, I was in Germany, right? And I remember seeing posters everywhere for like Madam X's tarot reading or call, that's when you had the landline. So it's like call a specific number to get your spiritual reading. These are dangerous because they are fake. Open disclosure, these lines that you call, what they do is they hook you in. So first of all, the line is technically it's a free line. So they skirt the law. So what happens in the pagan community, we hear about these numbers, right? So in the 80s, they were the landlines, you dial your number, and then you'd have this person that come on the line. Instead of giving you your fortune, they would direct you to another line where you would have to call. And guess what? That one wasn't free. So at the end of the month, when you got your phone bill, it's like, oh my gosh, Madam X, Madam X, Madam X, and it's like all this amount building up. They're not giving you your future. They're not giving you a reading. What they're doing is they're making money off you, right? Because eventually they're making money through you losing money. And we see this time and time again. But in the 80s, people were like, it was hip. It was a fashion. Go into the 1980s and be like, oh, let's just do this, right? Let's be a hipster. Let's go get our future written and told to us. And it didn't just involve tarot. It also involved runes, right? Because people were fascinated. In the 1980s, horror gave you it. You saw it, and now you wanted to live it. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people buy Ouija boards, even today, after they watched The Exorcist. And after they got scared watching The Exorcist, and after they watch other movies where people get possessed by, but doesn't matter because they think it's really cool, right? They think they want that movie pop. It's kind of a weird thing. It's not just in America, it's everywhere. People watch the movies. And if it's got tarot cards, I will bet you any money after the movie ends, let's go buy a tarot deck and let's not get any teaching whatsoever. And we'll open up our fake fortune telling store, and it happens time and time again. Enter the rip-roaring 90s. Ah, the 90s. Where do I even go with this one? Okay, so in the 90s, tarot was still growing, and now there are online schools. Now, which school we teach the truth? We have real courses. They're written by wonderful people, people with that vast amounts of knowledge, right? Endless amounts of knowledge, right? And the beauty of illustration is that all of us can come together and we can demonstrate our knowledge, right? So this is the beauty. The problem with the 90s is legislation. You could, when the internet was very first created, it was designed to be a holding zone, a medical where records could be kept. Then, of course, people got invested in making websites. And then they brought magic into it. The very first one, ladies and gents, boys and girls, was the Magic 8 Ball. Ah, boy, Magic 8 Balls. Scaring people since 1995. Actually, it's 1997, but the Magic 8 Ball was one of those things that are like, let's just, we'll click this. And then the screen gives you what you want. And then people think, oh my gosh, the screen told me I'm going to find my true love. And then, oh wait, I just got head up for stalking. Oh my gosh, the Magic 8 Ball got that wrong. Then, of course, you have movies based on the Magic 8 Ball, which then even prove that it doesn't work. There's a really, really funny one. It's like this camp 90s horror, right? You know the type where you have the teenagers and they just happen to find a Ouija board or a Magic 8 Ball. The Magic 8 Ball's alive. And yeah, not really, but it plays on this online trope. So for the Magic 8 Ball, the geniuses over at Reddit, hello geniuses over at Reddit. I'm talking about the people back in the, when Reddit was properly used or improperly used, right? You had these geniuses that thought, tarot. And so they approached web designers, right? And this is, Witchbox was still very young at this point, so people kind of weren't stopping them. So they had cards on your screen, and these cards would look like this. And for 10 cents, you could log in and you could click that card. But for an additional $20, you can sign up and can click all the cards you want. But they made a huge amount of money. And then Reddit expanded into the whole creepypasta genre. And then from Reddit, you had 4chan, then you had 8chan. And then, of course, you had members at tripod.com. This is the point of the workshop where I scare people. I do apologize, but I have to do it. Questions, Ravenwolf, answer. How can I help? From Michael Neal to everyone. Let me just unmute.
Hi, Ravenwolf. Yeah, I just unmuted him. I have a question for you.
Answer.
On the, where you're talking about the Pope card and the Emperor, my studies of it is that Waite got his renderings or his ideas from the Marseille deck, and that he took it and renamed it the Hierophant. Now, did Crowley then take the Emperor card and rename it Pope?
Yep.
Or I just wasn't sure when you mentioned that.
It was Crowley's version was to make fun of the Pope, and it was also to make fun of trying to twist around Christianity. It's what Crowley does best, right? So his father was a pastor. His mother was, I know that she had a dealing in the church, but I'm not even sure what she did. I think he just described her as a Sunday school teacher. But when he turned his back on the clergy, he began a mini mission, which has driven people nuts ever since, which is the total destruction of the Christian faith, or what he saw the Catholic faith, right? He believed that he could expose people. And the very first person he targeted wasn't his dad. That was historically wrong. He targeted the Pope over and over. In his writings, he wanted to demonstrate if he could create a tarot card as a mockery of the great Christian leader, it would give him even more power over him and over the successive lineage. This is what Crowley does. He doesn't just mock people face to face. The way in which he manipulates is he'll say, oh, I just made something for you, but it's not really for you, but it's a mockery of you, right? So if he did something for me, luckily he's no longer around to do that. But if he was, he'd probably do something, I don't know, he would take a wolf pelt or something and sort of do a mockery on that, claim that it bestowed power. Now, yeah, the Pope card reading has changed, but in Crowley's time, it's a mockery. It was, he skirted the law by pretending to obey the law, which drives me nuts whenever I teach people about history, especially Crowley, is that he was never actually ever found guilty of breaking religious law because he skirted religious law by saying, look, my new tarot deck has got the Pope and therefore it's fine. And then, of course, he made fun of the Pope, which is what he did best. But he was never... The thing that I love about Crowley was the guy was smart enough to never break religious law. He got close. Boy, did he get close. The only law that he really did break in the UK was act of treason, where there was some big shenanigans about him, the British military and Russia, but nobody ever figured out what the hell that was about. I mean, the general rule of thumb with that story was that he spied on, oh boy, what was it? He spied on some ambassador, and word got back that, oh my gosh, he was leaking things about... No, chances are he was probably just manipulating people. But it got to the point where he was kicked out of the UK. But to this day, when people read the Thoth deck and they see the Pope card, they have no idea that it's a mockery. I always find that hilarious for many, 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 many reasons, that nobody's ever kind of gotten to that point where it's like, can we kind of remove that card or change it? I mean, they've changed other cards over the years, but this is Crowley. Nobody wants to mess with, for some reason, nobody wants to mess with him, even though he's pretty much dead or in hell, as the program Supernatural will have you believe. Actually, didn't he get killed in like one of the episodes? I think he did. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question. He violated religious law without violating it. Yes, sir.
Deck, is that the Hermetic deck or?
The Thoth deck is the one that he...
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The Hermetic Order created the Hermetic deck, which was a teaching tool. They were teaching the young ceremonial magicians everything about tarot. I will tell you that the original school, oh boy, if you spoke out, if you mentioned anything, if outside of the... Now you can do it online, right? They do have temples here in the US. They are not Masonic, right? They're not anything mysterious, not a secret order. David Griffin does a lot of good work around the community, especially the magic community. And he's very open when you talk to him. The original order was nothing like it is today. When Crowley was a student, oh boy, if you announce that you're a ceremonial magician being trained in the Hermetic Order, even to a best friend, you were kicked out. It was very, very, very reclusive because they didn't believe they were very aware of what people would think of them, to the extent that they were like, oh my gosh, we're going to be secret. And of course they earned that reputation of being all Lovecraftian. Were they Lovecraftian? I will say no. H.P. Lovecraft did apply to be a member of the Hermetic Order of Golden Dawn. He was rejected. He was rejected because H.P. Lovecraft was invested in necromancy to the extent of creating everything that you would want. So necromancy is illegal in some parts of the world. H.P. Lovecraft also did not believe in tarot. He did not believe in the decks. He did not believe in half of what the Hermetic Order was set up to do. He applied and was rejected. I believe he applied when he was 19. He was then immediately rejected. He would then create some of his creatures over the Hermetic Order, creating this idea of the Order being responsible for all of the celestial cosmic horror. But no, he was never a member. But yeah, as far as Crowley went, he stole the Hermetic deck. Immediately, he got kicked out. I mean, it was history records. The thing about history, right, is that they don't tell you how quickly this was. How it played out is very simple. One day, Crowley is at one of the temples in, oh boy, here goes my memory, Highgate. Back then it was in Highgate, which is near Highgate, London, so near the cemetery. I know, we're placed to have an order near a cemetery, but hey, it works. He goes in and he sees the deck. And from what we know, is that he just took it and he just left the order. Actually, he was kicked out. Only in his mind, he just left the order. He took the deck with him, recreated it under the guise of Thoth because he wanted to become a god. And he, through the rest of his life, those that knew him, he refused to be called Crowley. He would be either the Beast, which is what his mother called him, or he demanded people to call him Thoth. And if you didn't call him Thoth, he would present the Thoth deck and he would say, "This is my deck, and aren't I cool for stealing it?" How does anybody think they're cool for stealing things? I mean, sometimes you just want to like backhand Alistair, like Crowley with a crowbar or something. Somebody give me a quick bang. So, yeah, you can tell I don't like Crowley for many, many reasons. Hopefully that answered your question.
We have 2 more questions. Jade, we have Jade and then Angel. Let me go ahead and unmute Jade. Jade can ask her question.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's driving?
Real quick. So my one question is, by continuing to use the Hierophant card, would that not be within the tradition going on ahead and continuing the line of thought of Crowley?
No.
Rather than going back to the Pope card?
No, because the meaning changes depending on the deck that you use. So as long as you're not using the Thoth deck, you're fine. If you are using the Thoth deck, the meaning, there was a call in 1997 for the meaning in the Thoth deck to be changed, which was immediately overturned by Crowley's estate, claiming that despite the fact he was one of the most evil people I have ever known, how anybody in their right mind would ever want to stick. Okay, but the long and short of it is, in the Crowley deck, if you're using the Crowley deck, then it has a negative connotation. It has a positive connotation in any other deck because it became standardized. It's just how Crowley, the thing with Crowley is, as much as we hate him in the pagan community, he did kind of inspire the whole global scene because he lifted all of the lid on the orders. And in Crowley's time, there were a ton of orders. The only thing where it is illegal here in the United States. So gang, please listen. This is the legal part. The Order Temporia Orientis, depending on where you live in America, is outlawed because it teaches manipulation. And the Thoth deck is also outlawed. I will tell you where the states are just to prepare you. Memphis, Tennessee is most definitely anti-Crowley. That's an understatement, but Savannah and Georgia, the whole sort of Savannah, Georgia area. Oh, where else? New Mexico, most definitely. The Order Temporariensis is outlawed for the obvious reason, manipulation, Crowley's doctrine. But yeah, as far as your question, if you're using the Thoth deck, be wary. If not, it's perfectly fine. So hopefully that answered your question.
It did. Thank you, Rev. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And then next we have up Angel Robertson.
Angel, good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rev? Good morning.
Great. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Quick question for someone that hasn't learned to read the tarot yet. What is the quick easiest deck to learn with?
Rider White is by far the easiest. Here at Witch School. Okay, so here at Witch School, we have a whole course on tarot. It's a fascinating course. Usually, I would tell people the deck that's easiest for you is like a found deck, right? If you're in a store one day, or like a card store, and if you're looking in an occult store or somewhere where there's a tarot deck, sometimes the deck will speak to you, and it's because it's binding itself to you, right? You might walk past it once, you're walking around the store or something, you come back to it, and you don't really know why you're coming back to it. That's what we like to call a found deck. That means that a specific deck is speaking to you. At the school, we want our students to we want our students to not hit the ground running, but we want to give you the right education. So I would honestly say Rider White is the go-to. If tarot had an industry, the industry would be the Rider White perspective. for open disclosure, they weren't witches. They were scholars, yes. He was a ceremonial magician. She was an artist. The reason why the deck is widely accepted as a teaching tool is because it's very open. There's a pictorial key. That key will teach you everything that you want to know, from the very basics to even the most advanced readings. It also goes through the Celtic spreads, the 3-card spread, the 1-card spread, or we're going to be looking at a 3-card spread in about 5 minutes, but it'll teach you all of the spreads, how to do them. When you read the pictorial key alongside what we offer here at the school, as far as a tarot lesson, which was our tarot lesson here at the school is by Rev Windy, who's sadly with the ancestors. But it's a fantastic course. So I would say, honestly, Rider White, unless you have a deck that you really, 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 really love, and that deck is calling out to you, you know it when that happens. But honestly, for new students, Rider White is honestly the best go-to deck, especially for newer students, even most advanced, right? Let's say Ed Hubbard one day, he wanted, I don't know, let's say that Ed never did tarot, right? And one day he wanted to get into, I would tell him the same. No matter how advanced you are in other studies in witchcraft, druidry, shamanism, right? Tarot is different. And to make it as accessible, Rider White just got that status. So yeah, Rider White, hopefully that answered your question. All right, any other questions? Yeah, it won't be your last. People go through, I have 3 decks, started with Rider White, and then right now I have this one, which is Crow's Magic, which is an animal deck, because I'm kind of pro animal. So you'll start with one, and Michael's he makes a very good point. It won't be your last, but the Rider White is the easiest. But eventually, over time, you'll find something that speaks more volumes to you. All right, so let's move on through the 21st century, because we can, I'm going to get all mystical up in here. All right. So, and in the 90s, we had the orders that were established. We had the different schools, online schools. People were still making money off tarot. And it got to this point where people are like, oh my gosh, tarot is going to become the next Ouija board. No, but there's some parallels. Ouija boards were really successful. Tarot was really successful. Enter Y2K, the year 2000. Oh boy. So in 2000, there were changes online. I mean, technology, but from 2000 and onwards, there was a brand new phenomenon which hit the online world. No, not Witchvox, because that's ancient. Like, Witchvox is even older than I am. I mean, like, I think Witchvox, when the Daily Spell's taken over from Witchvox, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of like old, right? Oracle versus Tarot, I wrote, let you forget, don't worry. Noted. So 2000, the Museum of the Talking Boards. This one drives me nuts as a paranormal investigator, but I gotta teach you guys it, so let's just do this. Okay, so the Museum of the Talking Boards was set up as a company that was designed to bring Ouija boards to life online. They were also teaching tarot readings. See the dangers here? I mean, am I the only one that saw the danger in this? But anywho, the Museum of the Talking Boards were giving tarot lessons and teaching people, oh my gosh, now you can do an online Ouija board and a tarot reading in the same place. Okay. There are issues with that. There still are. The Museum of the Talking Boards also have their own tarot deck, which is fashioned from a Ouija board. Great. Great genius plan for marketing tarot through a Ouija board, Museum of the Talking Boards. But the Museum of the Talking Boards also encourage people to invest in their tarot system, but at the same time, also investing in buying a Ouija board. So don't do that. be like, think logically, right? It's the worst possible thing you could do. Like, but yeah, they made a ton of money on it. Jade Snowwolf said to everyone, Oracle versus Tarot. Note to self about my question. Please don't let me forget. That's an excellent question. Well, let's look at it. Oracles. Oracles have always been designed to give you very standardized questions and very standardized answers to those questions. Right? It's how it works. A tarot deck is a tarot deck requires a specific system to read. An oracle deck doesn't. It doesn't. An oracle deck is simply a bit like going to visit the oracles of Delphi, who, by the way, were a religious order. Do they still exist? Yes. Yes, they do. They exist. Where the hell are they? They are in... Oh, they're on Crete at the minute. They were in Athens. There was some political issues, and then they moved the order to Crete. But anywho, an oracle deck is not the same, right? In tarot, you're going to learn 3-card reading, Celtic spread, love spread, fortune spread, wealth spread, whatever you want to do now in the 21st century. There is, I will tell you, at least 74 known new modern ways to read your tarot deck, thanks to the internet. Yay! You can do things like, will Justin Bieber ever make a comeback? Will Luke Skywalker ever return? You can have a spread for anything. I've even seen a Star Wars spread. There is a Star Wars spread. It looks kind of like the Death Star, which is kind of weird. How any... Star Wars, gotta love it when fans bring tarot into Star Wars. I still want to see Kylo Ren with a Ouija board. That'd be hilarious. It'd be like, the Force is with you. And then the Ouija board would be like, oh, heck no, the Force is with me. And then they'd have a big possession and Kylo Ren would come back from the dead as an Okay, I digress. Okay, so Oracle deck is completely different. Tarot deck is going to give you the tarot deck is going to give you the past, present, future, the different aspects that are affecting you. The Oracle deck is slightly more designed to yes, no, divination. There are other differences, but the best way to think about them is one is an oracle, the other is a story, it's a narrative, right? So it's what tarot is. And since I've been sitting down, I'm going to stand up. Oh, God, I'm getting to that point where I've got to stand up eventually. So hopefully you guys can still hear me. All right. So now let's come to the different types of readings and about why you guys are studying tarot in the 21st century world. It's a story. The best way that I teach tarot is simply this. The deck starts with the Fool. Every single deck that you will ever have in this entire world or crazy world that we live in right now with the quarantine, the way the decks are created is that you are a fool. Okay, put down the pitchforks, put the mob away. Let's look at it. The purpose of 21st century is to take you as a novice student down through a journey. The only way that we can do this in tarot is to restart your life. The reason why you sleep with your deck under your pillow or in direct moonlight or under the guise of the Death Star, should the Death Star ever come back to Earth, which it probably will do, knowing the way that this current century is going back in you start as the Fool. Everything that you do in a journey, especially tarot, is going to start with the very basics. Even in witchcraft, druidry, shamanism, you start at a very specific point. From that point, you move forwards. So the 21st century view of teaching tarot is very simple. We start with the Fool. The Fool is you. You begin your journey as a magician, as this kind of like, the Fool is not to insult anyone. It's not what the Fool means. It takes you out of your box, right? So like this mini box, bigger perspective. Takes you out of this persona of being the human. The human now is exposed, probably the wrong word, but now is engaged in this world of divination. The tarot deck, after it's bound to you, is going to take you on that journey, right? So one day you might get one card, another day you're going to get another card, but if I'm going to teach it properly, we have to start with the Fool because you begin the journey. The Fool knows nothing. The Fool is pretty much every single person that starts learning something. Kids, right? They learn something, right? You start from a young age and move upwards. Adults, always learning. Animals, always learning. The same thing with tarot. So you start as the Fool and you progress down the major arcana into the minor arcana. So you're progressing always. And as you're learning the readings, it's going to stop you along the way. So let's just look at a couple of readings, right? For example, if I was to do a 3-card reading right now, if I did it, I could do it the old-fashioned Venetian way, because I just love Venice. Actually, right now, Venice is kind of beautiful. You can actually see the bottom of the Venetian lagoon. Probably not a good idea since the mafia have been using it as a dumping ground for very, just kidding, mafia experts out there. They didn't use for the lagoon, or they might have done. Probably did, no, the mafia. But anywho, right now, the 3-card meaning has 6 different meanings added onto it. So what I want to teach you guys is the modern 21st perspective of a 3-card meaning. So instead of past, present, future, what we're going to do right now, live, so I haven't shuffled the deck, probably should have done, but because I'm being honest, okay, let's just do this. Grab this deck. So here we go, live. So no shenanigans. I do not know what the cards are going to be. I mean, I could guess, but that'd be a pretty bad guess because I'm not a gambler. Much, no, I don't gamble. So right now, I'm going to start shuffling. And the reading I'm going to teach you guys is the 21st century New Age, I hate that term, the current internet style of reading. Because as things on the internet have changed exponentially, people are doing the 3-card draw with a slightly different meaning. So here we go. Deck has now been shuffled. Sorry, turn the camera down so you can see a little bit better. So, all right, and pick 3 cards. Ooh, that's not good. 2, 3. So I picked 3 cards at random. I do not know what these cards are. So what I'm going to teach you guys is what's been going on right on the internet and something that we at the school are very aware of. 3-card meaning, in the way in which you teach tarot at school, means past, present, future. Meaning the past is something going on. The present is right now. The future is yet to be written. Although depending on what school of thought you belong to, the future is already written. So good luck with that one. All right. We're going to do things differently. Oh boy, that's a good one. Yes, I'm slightly cheating. I'm looking at the cards. I do apologize. Okay, so I'm going to reshuffle them once again. The reading that I want to teach you is a reading which has existed on the internet for the past 10 years. It's called Challenges, Acceptance, and Outcome. This style of reading we don't teach at the school. But the reason why I want to teach you guys it is eventually you might see it, right? You might see it online being posted. So here we go. So right now, see 3 cards. So the first card is going to be the challenges. So again, so right here, turn this up just a little bit. Not sure if you guys can see that. Hopefully you can. I hate technology sometimes. Okay, let me just change that. Okay, so the 2 of Swords. So because we're not doing past, present, and future, now we're going to have some fun. Challenges, outcomes, or challenges, situation, and outcomes. So challenges, poise, and symmetry. The challenge that we have in life right now is everything to do with how we're overcoming the current beer bug, right? So the challenges that we're facing, communications, right? Online is communication. This sort of card will say, this is the challenges that you're facing. Is there new ways to do things? Is there new ways to overcome things? What's going on? It will try to challenge your current status. Now, if I was doing a past, present, future reading, it would be completely different. But that's not how the world of the internet ever works, said nobody ever, because the world of the internet decides what the world of the internet wants to do. And if it just goes against what tarot cards mean, then hey, who are we to judge, said nobody ever with a rational mind. But hey, it's how tarot works. But right now, on the 21st century perspective, if you were to get boom as a reading, it would say that you're beset by challenges. You're beset by something affecting your symmetry, the balance, right? Scales of alpha and omega. And it would tell you that something's affecting it. Well, we know this to be true, because if you look outside and see the rampaging horde of post-apocalyptic neighbors that aren't rampaging, even though people claim that we're in the apocalypse, I mean, I think we're closer to like Kylo Ren coming real and attacking us with dual lightsabers and having droids everywhere. But hey, we're not in a post-apocalyptic world. But the idea of something affecting your symmetry is just telling you something's there. Yeah, we have COVID-19, one of the worst possible diseases I've ever known. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to have this card. Now let's look at some challenges from that, right? Let's see if I can hold this one up slightly different. Oh, this camera's not playing ball today. Bad camera. The Empress. Okay, men out there, put down the pitchforks. Watching you. Okay, we'd have to talk femininity, right? Challenge this idea of situational aspects. Okay, men, relax. We're all family here. We're all friends. Big hug, big hug, big hug. There we go. Mass hug done. We have to get out of this concept, right? That we can just do things by force, right? We have to get out of this concept that the emperor is saying the tyrannical approach. What this card is suggesting, especially in this time, especially when it comes to the situation, is this idea that we have to come at it from a different perspective, from the perspective of the Empress, the Divine Mother. In every single deck, she will mean the same thing. The Empress is divine feminine energy. She is the goddess, something that you have to learn in tarot. Tarot is, okay. Tarot doesn't really care about gender, right? It's nothing to do with that. I know in 21st century, like April 18, 2020, everybody's like diversity. Tarot doesn't mean that. Nice one. Tarot is just saying it's the opposites, right? Right now, we are living in the emperor style perspective, right? You see idiots going out to the store, hurting neighbors. You see all of this protests going on. The Empress is saying, no, it doesn't work. By accepting the fact that we all are part of the goddess form, we're all part of embracing this idea of feminine magic. This is how the situation can be dealt with, right? This is how we, as tarot readers, can look at it. We can say, okay, well, right now society's gone all kind of, I hate the word toxic male, but let's just do it. People are being dumb out there. They really are. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, if we go and protest, then we'll stop the spread of the disease by protesting in big groups. Yeah, okay, whatever, that works, so nobody ever. But the idea of the Empress would be like, stop. Take a step back and listen to what the goddess is saying. Listen to the power of feminine energy. It's not about saying, oh my gosh, genders are going to, no, it's about feminine energy. The ability to listen. The Empress is a listener. She will listen and she decides for herself. She protects, right? She nurtures. She is the mother. We all have parents out there, whether they're in Summerland or not, but we all have parents. And whoever makes the most sense in the family, hands down, open disclosure, gang, is the mother figure, right? Throughout history, whenever stuff has gone down, I mean, unless you're Alistair Crowley, but when stuff has gone down, people turn to this idea of motherhood. Why? Because it's nurturing, understanding, bringing you in and embracing you. So by having this card, fellow men out there, don't be like, oh my gosh, it's feminine energy. Oh my gosh, alarm bells going off. Oh my gosh, social media is going to explode with #Emperor. No, take a step back and think, what would a mother do in this situation, right? What would a mother do in COVID-19? Well, she'd keep her kids safe. Yes. She'd teach you level-headedness. She'll teach you, okay, think logic, approach a problem using the way in which a parent, a mother, a goddess would approach a problem. Okay, so the outcome, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, our third and final card of the day. I feel like I'd be a sports person one of these days. Is, not sure if you can see it. There we go. The universe. The universe is everything. We are gathered here in this, I'm sorry to run over time, but we are gathered here as students, right, to learn. We are gathered here as a family. We are a part of a pagan universe, but now we have to think big. We are part of something much, 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 much bigger. The universe isn't just the universe. What the universe is going to teach you is community. Community is first. Here at Zoom, Witch School, pagan world, Corellian tradition, wherever you are, we're a community. Angel says, I have a quick question. Let's go to you, Angel. What is your question?
Hi. When doing a reading, is it better to draw them from the cards from the top, or can you draw them from anywhere in the deck?
That's a really good question. It's up to the reader, and it's up to the person doing the reading. Typically it's from the top of the deck, but sometimes you'll see people, they have their own ways of doing it, right? Some people don't like taking a card from the top of the deck. The thing with tarot is it's a sandbox. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, this is really cool. The way tarot has evolved exponentially, there are guidelines, yeah, like 3-card reading, Celtic spread. We have specific ways in which we teach it here at Witch School, but it's also like a sandbox. It's much like witchcraft, right? You can do whatever type of reading that you would like to do. There's no, you're not exactly going to be arrested and like, oh my gosh, the police are going to come after you because you did a wrong. You took the card from the middle. Yeah, I can't really see that being a law. Actually, I probably could, but hopefully that answered your question. Yeah, you can take it from the middle of the deck, the top of the deck. Could probably suspend the deck in gravity using the force powers that Kylo Ren magically had. Okay, sorry, I'm being mean on Star Wars today, but hopefully that answered your question.
Yep. Thank you, Rev.
My pleasure. Any other questions before we end? Apart from why am I anti-Star Wars? For the obvious reason, there was no story in Star Wars. Okay, not about Star Wars. Do we have any other questions? Because we are just about out of time. You have that kind of Ren look. Oh, okay, but I'm not as emo or as dark as Kylo Ren. I'm actually a nicer version of Kylo Ren. I'm like the sort of, I'm how Kylo Ren should have been, like a real Jedi person. Like, he's the freaking, okay, my 2 bits about the whole Star Wars story. Okay, so he's like the leader of the Knights of Ren, right? You would think these are the most powerful knights in the universe, and yet they do nothing in the movie. It's a bit like, yeah, okay, we're the Knights of Ren. Oh, look, they just got one-shotted by rebels. I mean, anyway, my digital Ouija board, not familiar with them. I always warn people about them, not just because I'm a medium, but they're dangerous. In the mediumship world, open disclosure, we don't know how they work. We have an idea that they create a vortex. I will say, okay, so from the paranormal investigator side, here's my 2 cents about Ouija boards. We don't really know how they work. We have an idea, but because we have an idea, that there isn't a lot of evidence yet that we can just look at and say, this is why Ouija board is bad. I just warn against them based on the caseloads that have yet to be fully explored, right? The amount of issues with them. Eventually, I think maybe in a couple of years, we'll see research being done and we'll come up with a way to deal with them. But yeah, it's not that I dislike them, it's just that I warn people from them based on personal experience and on the experiences that I've encompassed. Do we have any other questions?
Hey, Rev, do we know what happened to the giant Ouija board in New York?
It's still there.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not, they moved it? Yes.
They only set it up for only 2 days. It was October 13th through the 15th. I was there with the world's largest Ouija board and the world's smallest Ouija board, which I wear. I love Ouija boards, so. But no, that was only up, and I could do a whole story about the effects on that weekend, because Salem wasn't just the largest Ouija board, but remember at that time you had over 350 different readers throughout the city, all simultaneously in either state of being receptivity or doing readings. And it was a busy, busy weekend. That was Columbus Day weekend.
And nobody got possessed that we know of.
Well, people get possessed the minute they walk into Salem. No, I'm just kidding. There's a jollity with that, but that's what happened with it. And it's now in a box, and they plan to set it up. And I guess this year you might see it being set up at festivals and things like that. Yeah, it was 9,000 pounds it weighed. 96 boards, plywood boards.
Who in their right minds ever comes up with those? I mean, I would love to meet them. We should do like a Zoom interview with them and see what kind of drove them. Actually, that'd be kind of
That's a good idea. And so let me offer one last thing before you go, I guess. So this is going to be, we're working on creating this into a new channel across the internet. I think the one thing we got to work on, and so you've been doing a great job, and I want to make sure everybody understands that. You've been doing a morning show.
Yep.
When I asked almost 2 years ago, say, hey, I need help with this, you jumped in, and boy, better than I expected. we're hoping to allow him not only doing your Facebook stuff, we're hoping this will allow you, because this is on YouTube live right now.
Hi to everyone on YouTube.
All right, and so we're gonna be able to do that, and you'll be able to get the thing that you've been waiting for, is be able to do interviews and bringing people on like this. So people watch. We can see a lot more of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad everyone enjoyed the workshop. I look forward to doing more of them. Yes, Lilith.
Hi. I asked it in group chat, but it's not very clear for me. On Witch School, there are a couple courses on tarot.
Yes.
If you were to mention one of them that that stood out to you, which one would that be?
It would be Rev Wendy's course on tarot, which is Ed, help me remember the name on that one. It was the entire course on tarot. It's one of our main courses on there. It was created by Rev Wendy. I'm trying to remember the name. Ed, do you remember the name of
I
which?
don't off the bat, and I don't dare change my screen to go look it up.
I am looking at 3 of them, but are they in the free membership courses or in the supporting ones?
I believe they're supporting. Can you clarify that, Ed?
Sure, I think we have one tarot class that is not, and the rest are supporting.
Okay.
Again, I don't have an anything. Why don't you, if you IM me, or I'll get that. We'll get an answer for that.
Yeah.
Sure, will do.
This is Reverend Lori.
Hey, Rev Lori, how are you?
Hi, Lori.
Tarot 101 is the main course, and it is in the free basic. Now there's a Tarot 102, and there's also a Tarot of Hecate, which is the deck that was created by Lord Don.
I see them. I see the 3 of them.
Yeah. So yes, there is one tarot course in free basic. We made sure we had one of those, and then the rest are in supporting.
Okay, thank you.
And then for those of you that don't understand the difference between the free basic account at Witch School and the supporting account at Witch School, the free basic offers 35 courses. It includes all of those that are needed to become a Corellian priest or priestess. And the rest are a smattering of kind of out of all the genres we have. So there's tarot, crystal, herbs, modern paganism, pagan past. There's a course from each of those, what we call categories or subcategories. And then in the supporting membership, you get access to over 100 more classes, plus access to our great volunteer staff of mentors, of which Reverend Ravenwolf is one of our favorite mentors. His mentor cap is always full. So that's the difference between the free basic and the supporting class. But yes, we tried to make sure there was one class in there of tarot.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have wonderful mentors that love to teach all the courses here. We also have mentors that teach the clergy courses if you guys are interested in becoming a priest or a priestess. All right, well, we are about out of time for this workshop. Before I go, definitely do check out the Daily Spell Network. Get involved in the network, get involved in the school. There's lots of opportunities for you. We have the Daily Spell Network, Magic TV, we have Witch School. We're all over Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, I think we're on Twitch, TikTok. Wherever there's an avenue of social media, we're always looking for people to help, to teach, right? The thing with illustration and doing this format is instead of the beauty with the virtual world is that we're reaching out, and with courses like these, with courses over the next couple of days, leading up to the end of illustration, that's not the end, right? We're always going to be having online classes. Zoom is just going to be a really fantastic platform because it lets whoever wants to get involved with the school teach, and to bring people. You don't have to be a part of the Corellian tradition. If you're new to the school and you've just done a course and you want to teach a course, you want to talk about it, get involved. Really, the school is for you, but at the same time, feel free to get out like really share your knowledge, and, like software like edit using is a great way to do it. It really is. So before I do leave, my words of encouragement is 2 years ago, I used to be camera shy. I am now not camera shy, thanks to Ed. And no, I'm really not. I used to be, but I'm not. So my big words of advice is, if you're interested in teaching, getting involved in the Daily Spell Network, contact Ed Hubbard, contact John Lewis, contact us at the school. There's no idea that's totally stupid. I mean, if you wanted to do something like advanced summoning of lesser entity, obviously, keep in mind, we pride ourselves on teaching honesty, right? So what you teach, keep in mind you're a representative of that school, you're representative of the Daily Spell, Magic TV, Pagans Tonight. So keep in mind that. We also have got International Public Radio, IPR, Pagans Tonight. There's lots of different areas for you guys to get involved. So if you don't like cameras, radio. If you don't like radio, podcasts. If you don't like podcasts, write a course for the school. I am, open disclosure, writing a class on sigils as we speak. I'm halfway through it. It's going to be a fun course. Lots of hands-on things that I'm working on. See, but it's things like this, come up with ideas. You guys are the next generation, even if you're mentors and teachers yourselves. You guys are part of the next phase of paganism, right? And we're going through these phases. So that's my big words of encouragement. Now that we're all home, during this time of the Great Plague of 2020, where the world is about to end, where you see the Death Star about to destroy the... Just kidding. Although people probably guess that the Death Star is on its way. But, enough Star Wars jokes. I hope everyone has a great day. Enjoy the rest of Lustration. Get involved. Get to meet us all. There's going to be videos probably streaming all day. For Witch School International, my name is and forever will be Rev Ravenwolf Greenfield. Thanks to Ed Hubbard for helping out today. Thank you, Ed. I wish you all a pleasant day. Stay safe out there. Please don't go out unless you have to, and then wear masks. And I don't just mean Lord Vader's mask, although that would be kind of cool. Like walking into a store dressed as Lord Vader. I think that would scare people. It'd be kind of cool. I'll be back very soon with some more content. I will definitely be streaming more on this network. So definitely check that out over the next couple of days. Now, peace be with everyone. Until next time. Bye for now.